Thank you for coming here tonight. And thank you and welcome to all of you out there online. This is our last lecture of the fall season, and we will resume again in March in 2024. My name is Susan Couvreur, and next to me is Gail McCormick, and I will give you some background that we've collected about this presentation tonight. Gail will read the paper that was written in 1950, and it's the recollection of sisters Elizabeth and Florence E. Knorr, K-N-O-R-R, when they were schoolgirls here in Frankfurt. Here's a look at the handwriting of, I'm assuming it's Florence's because she was a teacher, and I just think it's a beautiful hand. Here's a picture of her. It's from a newspaper clipping that's kind of old and stained, but she was a teacher at Lawndale for over 40 years, and she retired in 1957. And Lawndale School, that's not Lawndale School. Oh, it's in here somewhere. Lawndale School is located in the Lawndale Loundcrest area. It's located near Martins Mill Road and Hellerman Street. And it was a short walk from her home. This is her home. And they lived in this house that her and her sister, Elizabeth, lived there as single women all their lives. And this house still stands. It has a different look today. Here's a map that shows where it's located. It's on Oxford Avenue, and there's just above Levick. And you can see a little red star there that shows the location of the house. And I wanted to thank Al Trachtenberg for helping us get these images. Florence and her mother's family attended St. Mark's Episcopal Church in Frankfurt, and she was the president of the Altar Guild there for 19 years. Florence and her older sister attended school in Frankfurt. We're not sure where. There's two schools that were there, Herbert School and Marshall School. We don't know at this time where they went to school. And I wanted to say, too, that on the map that we just saw, there are names of streets in the neighborhood that were people's names that were owners of land in that area, like Hellerman and Cumley and Knorr. So this talk that Gail's going to read to you was written about the blizzard in February of 1899. And this image that you're looking at is from that blizzard. And here's people in a sleigh, a one-horse open sleigh, selling newspapers probably about the blizzard. So it was a very intense blizzard, and it had over 20 inches of snow in the Philadelphia area. So I'm going to turn it over to Gail, and she's going to read this paper that the Knorr sisters wrote in 1950.
Time marches on. It is difficult for children of today to believe that from Lieber Street, Frankfurt, up to Fox Chase, Oxford Avenue was really a narrow country road with only a few farms and dwellings along the way. A little over 50 years ago, two little girls, less than 10 years old, getting their horse and falling top carriage from the Seven Stars hostelry, began their 2.5 mile trip home from school along this winding country road. For 2 squares, because of the snowstorm, they could scarcely see the houses on either side. And when they reached Lieber Street, they realized that the terrific wind and snow which was coming toward them from the north was indeed a blizzard. They were very glad to have an old woolen circular shell-stitched shawl in the carriage. They fastened it in front of them against the storm. Continually shaking the shawl and peeping through it, they could scarcely see the ears of the horse. To them, it was a comfort to know that the horse would take them home. But how Old Rock was able to do this will always remain a mystery. They could not see the pretty cedar trees which grew beside the farm fences. Having no watch, they could only gauge by the lapse of time that they were passing the turn of the Worcester farm, with the Smith Lane across the road, and then they judged that they were passing Brown's, Boardman's, Waxler's on the right, and the toll gate, which was where Castor Road crosses Oxford at Dark Run Lane. Next, Christie's on the left and Comley's on the right, then the brickyard where the long lane went back to Goodman's on the left, with the Harnebo Cemetery on the right, and the John Williams and David Williams farms. After passing Old Soldiers Road on the left, the children were happy indeed when soon the horse suddenly made a turn to the right down the lane between the huge old maple trees and stopped at the barn door. With sighs of relief and thankfulness, they were home and never realized how anxious their parents must have been. In the top of this large hay and cow barn, which was pegged together, was the name of John Knorr and the date 1812. Nearby was the very large farmhouse built on a slight grade. The 3 floors of the rear were attached to the 3 floors of the front in such a way as to make it a 4-level house. The large spring house was south of the house. This spring was a yard square and very deep. During the life of 3 generations, there was always plenty of water, even in a dry season. For many years, that house, barn, and spring house, together with 30 acres of land, had been in the possession of the Knorr family. It had been a larger farm, but the part where the Fisher gas station now is had been sold off. That is the corner where Barnard Knorr lived when the 1790 census was taken. Barnard's son Michael lived in that same house. It was while he was a captain and later a major in the War of 1812 that the neighboring farmers signed up as volunteers in his small 2-story stone house called At the Sign of the Volunteer. Michael's son, Jacob S. Knorr, took his bride, Martha Hellerman, to live in the cottage just north of what is now Levick Street on the west side of Oxford Road. Later, they lived on the east side of the road in the big farmhouse. Jacob's sons, Charles Fox Knorr and Frank, together with their 2 sisters, inherited the same 30 acres in the year 1892. Buying the shares of their sisters, the 2 brothers became partners in both the farming and florist businesses. The 4 Knorr boys, sons of Charles, together with the 2 daughters of Frank, inherited the same 30 acres in 1921. The farmhouse, barn, together with 2 acres, were sold to a neighbor, Charles Fisher Jr., 6 acres to a florist, J. Bruce Griffin, and later the remainder to Hans Lundig, about 1924. Members of the Knorr family now live on the west side of the road on ground that was part of the original farm, and the cottage to the south is also property of the family. Now, the spring of 1950, with so many twin homes crowding to the west and north, with the Naval Aviation Depot located on what is now called Martin's Mill Road, and Oxford Road becoming such a wide, busy thoroughfare with so many business firms from Frankfurt to the Boulevard Circle, there still remains the familiar view of the farmhouse, barn to the east, and the very old cottage, which has handmade lace, handmade nails, and random floorboards. Elizabeth and Florence E. Knorr. Are any questions? Comments? Yes.
Two, three, three more.
Okay.
Old Soldiers Road, that one's no.
When I go up that way, it becomes Old Soldiers Road.
Where?
My recollection is that it's near a school, just before you get to Central,
Before you get to where? Oh, Central Ave.
Central Avenue, yeah.
All right. Is this not just there? Here before you make that? Yeah. Can everybody hear me without the aid of
Oh,
electricity?
this is for our online.
All right. I'll cooperate. Fisher's gas station, Martinsville, Lock.
Yes, she mentioned
Just at the gas station, but I'm not sure.
this was Fisher's, let's see.
There is a gas station on that corner still, but I don't know what its name is. It's on that triangle.
So it was there in 1950, so we'd have to look, probably the best way to check would be to look at one of the real estate atlases post this particular story, from the later 50s, and see how long Fisher's gas station was located at that spot.
Around that, Philadelphia Protestant home now situated on. Was that part of the estate?
I expect that.
Martinsville and et cetera?
I expect so. But the original Protestant home that I saw recently was pre-1900. So I'm not sure when they acquired the land.
Where do you sell it? Northwestern end of the estate. It sounded like a German.
Oh, Hans Lundig?
name.
What? Yes, Lundig, I believe it was. 1924 is when she said they sold that part of the property to them.
Next.
Do we know anything more than has been said about the author of this particular piece?
Well, yes, I have only just a short article about when she retired, and it talked about her time in school as a teacher at Lawndale and during her retirement. So it was an article about her retirement. And she was apparently a much loved teacher and a very religious person.
Now, Lawndale was a public school?
Yes, and it is now called Cedar Grove Christian Academy.
So it's a
It's still a school, and it's in the same location. It's larger than the original, but it's still there in the same location.
It's not part of the Philadelphia public school system anymore. It's like it's been spun off.
So it's maybe a private school.
It might be private. It doesn't say charter. So
Charter school.
it says Cedar Grove. Its name is Cedar Grove Christian Academy, so it doesn't say charter in the name.
It's not going to be a public school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if there are any questions online.
Apparently not.
Okay,
That's a wrap.
thank you.
Thank you.
And good night and happy holidays to everyone. Thank you.